hidden truths, and the sanctity of place. Something had pulled me into this specific shop on this particular street, then guided my hand to this book. A dizziness swept through me, and I braced myself against a wall. "It's the heat," I murmured as I removed my hat and wiped my sleeve across my damp brow. Steadying myself, I turned to the first chapter and read aloud in a low voice. Wadi Mujib, near the Dead Sea, during the 8th century BC. The scribe rested his back against the cavern wall, reveling in the cave's relative coolness, the relief from the iron anvil heat of the sun. In the smoky light of the lamp he laid out his tools. The tanned hide of a goat, a reed pen, ink. Carefully he thinned the soot-black ink with a mixture of honey, oil, vinegar, and water. He had done this task many times. He knew what consistency of ink would serve his purpose. Sounds and scents trickled in from outside the cave. The stench of the tannery, the voices of his fellow ascetics. His thoughts went to the far city of Ursalim and the events unfurling there. He and his small band were considered rebels. Heretics, even. The accusations had driven them from the city to seek refuge in the desert. So be it. They knew the truth. He rubbed his neck to ease the aching muscles. He'd been many days at this single task. Now he offered a prayer in the semi-dark and leaned forward to touch his pen to the carefully prepared leather. These are the words that Moses spoke according to the mouth of Jehovah to all of the children of Israel in the wilderness. I slammed the book shut. I knew what this supposed treasure was. A false text. A blasphemous deviation from the truth. Again I moved to return the wretched book to the stack. And again something stayed my hand. Sudden rage, shocking and unexpected, burned through me. My fingers whitened as they gripped the spine. The threads tore beneath my nails. And I became afraid of what could happen, of what I might do. Chapter 1. Dr. Elizabeth Lawrence slowed and flicked on the car's brights, looking for the turn in the dark. Incredible the unexpected twists life can take. Her entire career reduced to 2 ragged fragments of papyrus that would set the antiquities world on fire. Then blow it up when the truth came out. She found the street and pulled to the curb outside Chicago's St. Paul Coptic Orthodox Church. At 10 p.m. on a Monday, the interior of the church lay dark beyond the arched windows. It was an odd place to meet, a street corner in a residential area next to a church. But she knew the location was convenient for Sam. And in the fashionable neighborhood of Logan Square, she felt comfortable. Who would look for her here? Plus, the church offered neutral ground. Sacred ground, even. Appropriate, given their business with each other. Rain spattered the windshield, the first breath of a forecasted spring squall. The air seemed to swell with the damp. Elizabeth glanced at her watch. Sam should be here soon. She hoped the seller hadn't insisted on coming. The Egyptian, Hassan, had been demanding that she hurry with her assessment of the photos he'd sent of the ancient texts, demanding that she commit to authenticating them, or let him take his treasure elsewhere. Now was the time to be painstakingly cautious, lest the entire enterprise implode, taking them all down. She reassured herself that the 6-hour handgun was under the driver's seat. Dr. Elizabeth Lawrence, Doctor of Ancient History and Papyrology, head of the Chicago Institute of Middle Eastern Antiquities, one-time recipient of a MacArthur Genius Grant, knew her way around guns every bit as well as she did around artifacts. Despite her appearance, she was no bespectacled denizen of academia's ivory tower. For 40 years, she'd been boots on the ground wherever her work required her to be. She'd rappelled down cliffs, fought off malaria and marauders, and lived alone in the desert among jackals and scorpions. In a man's world, she'd gone her own way, and she had thrived. A car drove past without slowing, its tires hissing on the wet asphalt. A black SUV. She watched until it turned a corner. She had no way of knowing how many people were aware of the existence of the fragments. But there were plenty of other scholars, other institutes, even private collectors who would pay millions for these ancient texts. Some would be willing to steal them, should the opportunity arise. Even kill for them. A wave of weariness swept over her, and she sank back in the seat, cursing her own weak body. Maybe, while she was still able, she should end her subterfuge and ask for Evan's help.